Okay, so for me, it's hard to talk about race because I was raised in a predominantly white neighborhood. Like everyone in my school, well, not everyone, but the majority of kids were white, and we had a few African American kids, but they were in turns friends with everybody who was white as well. So I really haven't been faced with the dilemma of racism because of my predominantly white schooling that I've been raised up in. And to me, I seem like that's kind of been like an avoided topic for me. I kind of feel uncomfortable talking about race, just because of this day and age. It's you more have to be careful about what you say. And I mean, not like you personally feel like you have to be concerned about what you say because what you say might mean one thing to you, but something different to other people. So your words can get misconstrued in topics like that. So I think that race has become harder to talk about in general because of the more integration that we face today. People now mainly just they want to get along. You don't want people to be offended by what you say, and even in some cases, you just want people to be able to tolerate you. So.
Was race a factor growing up in your hometown?
Was race a factor in your life?
Race was not at all. Wyoming's a very small town, very small community. It's a town of 600. We had a combined school of different towns, and my class was still only the size of 37. So, and I don't think we had any racial differences in my class at all, let alone in the school. So I didn't grow up with it until really I came to Cedar Rapids to go.
It's hard for me to talk about race because I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. I've gone to school in the same district all through like K through 12, and there were not very many people of color in that school district. I only have one friend who's black, and even he doesn't like to talk about race. It's really awkward because I feel ignorant because I don't know that much about other races and I haven't been exposed to them. And because I feel ignorant, I feel like I'll say something offensive or something that sounds stupid. And it feels like I'm walking on eggshells when I talk about race because there's something that will always offend someone, or maybe I'll think it offends them and then I'll feel bad. So it's really quite a difficult subject to talk about. And because we, as a society, we don't talk about it, we don't talk about it as individuals.
Were your parents intentionally or unintentionally racist?
I didn't really see that in them as I was growing up, although I think that was prevalent. I grew up in Burlington, Iowa, and I think there was some of that undertones there, but I don't think it really displayed through my parents at all, no.
So why is it so hard to talk about race? In my opinion, I think it's so hard to talk about race because I was raised not to talk about it and not to confront it. We kind of took the view that I didn't want to differentiate people any more than they were already differentiated. So I just wouldn't talk about it. But the fact of the matter is that anyone with a different history, even if it's a different race or a different upbringing, it's very easy to offend because you don't know what they like, their interests. It's like my story with the African American basketball player at the Foundation 2 shelter when I asked him if he played basketball, and it took on a whole different meaning. So it's so easy to offend because your words can be misconstrued so easily. So I guess the main reason why I don't like talking about race is because I don't want to be viewed as a racist. And it's so easy to be viewed as a racist. So how do I confront the issue of race without sounding naive and ignorant?
Is racism still present at Co?
Yeah, I believe there's racism on Co's campus. I mean, there's always certain types, like, I feel like one that's kind of here is one of, like, I guess, ignorance, because some people really don't know like stuff they say because they haven't really experienced everything around, and there's a lot of different people in Co. So there's all types, but I feel like there's still something there.
Talking about race is not an easy subject, and it's definitely not something that's brought up on a daily basis in conversations. However, whenever I see a person in the grocery store, I notice their skin color, the way they dress, and their physical features such as the hair, the eye color, their body type, their height. I wouldn't consider myself as being racist for not seeing different characteristics before I notice their skin type, but somebody else might. There are so many characteristics that describe a person that's racist. So is this one of them? I try not to distinguish a person from their hair color and their skin color and their eye color, but have been brought up to see the physical differences in people. So would you consider me to be racist?
Do you feel safe walking off campus at Coe College?
I used to, and I used to walk places to myself, like Hy-Vee, walked places by myself, but last weekend a group of 3 black guys were heckling me and calling me and walking behind me late at night, and so it really, really, really made me nervous and really freaked out. So I probably won't be walking alone anymore.
All right. Initially, when dealing with the question on race, it wasn't comfortable for me to talk about. But at my work, once I became a manager, got some more in charge of hirings and interviewing and stuff like that. It started to become easier. I just found that if you are open and honest with people that are different than you, and tell them you don't understand or don't know, they're happy to explain it to you usually, and they take it okay. And also, it's just you learn from experience. I've been a manager now a couple years, and now it's become second nature to me. I don't really see race or prejudge on race. I usually get to know the person, talk to them first, and go from there. So it has been uncomfortable, but now just being open and honest and learning from what you know becomes easier to talk about race and not an issue anymore.
Why is race so hard to talk about?
I just feel like there's been a lot of bad racial differences in the past, with slavery and the Civil Rights Acts and them coming out of that. And I just feel like we have a lot to make up for from the past, and it's just a slow process, and it's just still kind of touchy. I feel like when they were doing that, I kind of pictured movies and scenes, and I don't know, I just felt really nervous. And I think if it had been 3 white guys, I probably would have assumed that they went to Coe. So.
Well, I think it's probably easier to talk about now. I think when I remember with my grandparents going down to Florida, and I was just amazed about the segregation. In fact, stopping at places where, it said coloreds couldn't come into these windows and stuff. So I was pretty amazed by that, because we really didn't have that in Burlington when I was growing up. So I think more people are talking about it now than they did, when I was younger. But that was a few years ago.
Because, it's awkward. It's talking about, it's kind of exposing people or, talking about stuff bringing out people's differences and stuff. So I feel like it's really hard. Sometimes it really bothers people, and sometimes, some people are okay with talking about it. So, it just depends on each person.